Hi, this is David Davis, and I'm proud to be here at Scale Computing headquarters speaking with Vanessa Alvarez, Vice President of Marketing. How you doing, Vanessa?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, thanks for joining me. So today we want to talk a little bit about trends in enterprise infrastructure and storage. So I know Scale Computing is a hyper-converged architecture. Tell me, what do you think about hyper-convergence, and how is it going to help enterprises today?
It's interesting because I think that when I first started to look at the converged infrastructure market as a Forrester analyst, I spent a lot of time really looking at the emergence of Amazon Web Services, right? So what they were doing was pretty amazing at that time, early 2006, where they were literally creating highly efficient, highly scalable infrastructure with commodity hardware and software intelligence, right? And we saw the emergence of infrastructure as a service, public cloud service provider, which Amazon Web Services is today. And I started to really look at what they were doing and trying to figure out, how do we deliver this to the enterprise, right? Traditional enterprises were still leveraging the big brand names, Cisco, HP, EMC, NetApp. And yet here we had these large scalable infrastructures using commodity hardware. So when I looked at converged infrastructure at the time, we had the traditional, what I call traditional today, converged infrastructure, the likes of vBlock, FlexPod, and so on and so forth. I thought, we need to take that one step further. And as I started to really take a look at the market and see where the industry was going, I saw this hyperconvergence trend emerging. And for better, buzzword for better or for worse, it does have some meaning. And when I joined Scale Computing, I really wanted to understand what hyperconvergence was all about. And it's really about taking that next level of convergence, right, away from just having this vBlock of 3 separate boxes, and really integrating infrastructure, right? Integrating servers, storage, and virtualization into a single platform. And that's really, for me, the difference between traditional converged infrastructure and what hyperconvergence is today. And it's essentially leveraging those concepts from the likes of Amazon Web Services and Google and Netflix, right? Where you're leveraging commodity hardware and intelligent software to be able to no longer have to make the trade-off of performance and cost, right? That's always been the trade-off that enterprises have made. And today, we are moving towards just eliminating that trade-off altogether. So for me, I think that when we take a look at, those players like Amazon Web Services and Netflix, what we call today web scale IT, right? Web scale players who are deploying, architectures and infrastructures with, commodity hardware. That's really where the market is moving. And enterprises are starting to really understand what that means to them, right? When we take a look at projects like Open Compute, right, which emerged from Facebook, where they open up their architectures to the public, right? Here's how we do it. That's really sending a signal to businesses who are like, okay, if they can do it, so can we. How do we tailor these kind of concepts to deal with our enterprise workloads today? And that's really where the market's at, right? And when I think about HT3, it's really the beginning of that sort of transition for enterprises, whether they're large or small, right? They're all looking at the same challenges, which is, how do I create scalable and efficient infrastructure for my environment, right? Whether it's because I need to keep the costs down, whether it's because I need to lessen my footprint, I want to eliminate data centers. It's all relative, right, to the size of your business. And that, to me, is really where the market needs to go.
Okay. So, businesses of all sizes really want to be able to do more with less,
Right.
And with the hyperconverged infrastructure, I guess let's just talk about how it can help them to do more with less. They don't need an expensive name brand server.
Right.
They don't need a SAN.
Right. I call it simplified IT, right?
Yeah.
And when you take a look at sort of those same concepts of Amazon Web Services
Mm-hmm.
and Google, those guys have 100 engineers managing their infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
My thinking was, let's simplify that.
Right.
Let's package those concepts, simplify it. Today, enterprises, whatever size they are, should only care about, can you keep my applications up and running? Can you keep my business, available 24/7, right? That's all they should really care about. They don't need to care about what kind of SAN they have, what kind of servers they have, much less have to deal with managing them, right? You don't want to have to deal with managing a server and managing a SAN and trying to figure out, how many you need of what. That to me is really where HC3's value proposition lies. It's in being able to eliminate all of those operational tasks, eliminating the CapEx cost, right? Because it's all hardware, that you're paying for at the end of the day. We've integrated that all into a single appliance so that you don't have to worry about, figuring out the servers and figuring out how much storage you need, how much capacity you need. A platform is really designed to simplify all of that for you. One of the advantages that we also have, and I like to really highlight with customers as well, is the fact that we are based on Linux-based KVM, right? Today, KVM is an enterprise-proven hypervisor in the market, backed by the likes of IBM, Red Hat, right? Billion-dollar companies. And when we look at KVM in the market, yes, market share is still minimal. However, there's a ton of Linux out in the market, right? We take a look at some of the newer players, emerging players in the networking side and in the server side. Linux is really starting to to come into its own, right? And I think the reality is that the hypervisor is commoditized, right? And we're able to deliver the benefits of open source virtualization in a simplified manner, right? So for those businesses out there who are afraid to go near open source because they don't understand it or they don't have the Linux skills, but yet they want to be able to leverage virtualization at an affordable cost and something that's relatively open. I feel like we deliver that to the market today.
And I mean, that's really all they're looking for is a solution they can purchase that's efficient, allows them to do more, with less capital expenditure investment,
Right.
and just makes their life easier. And so by taking Linux and KVM and making it easy to use,
Right.
really,
Yeah.
it allows them to do their job better. So how do you see the public cloud and hybrid cloud? How would that fit in with hyperconverged infrastructures in the future?
So if you think about, what has emerged, so I think, in 2006, 2007, Amazon Web Services thought, they would control all of enterprise, right? I think the reality is that today it's not an all or nothing situation. It's a combination of being able to leverage something like public cloud for certain workloads and applications and keeping some of your more core and mission critical applications on premise in your own private cloud, right? So how do you bring those two together? And today, we talk about hybrid clouds and making that really happen. I think from a scale computing's perspective, one of our vision is to really see how those two come together, right? So when you think about HC3 in an on-premise environment, controlling all of the workloads internally, and being able to understand if that particular workload could benefit from being in a public cloud, whether it be Amazon Web Services, whether it be Rackspace, whether it be a scale cloud, right, from a managed service provider. Just being able to identify where that workload is best placed and where that data should go is really where sort of the nirvana is, right? Like in a perfect world, that's what we want to be able to do, right? And I think that as we start moving towards that vision, the market will move that way too. Customers will understand that they can leverage something like a Rackspace or public cloud and still maintain their core mission critical applications in on-premise, and then be able to be even more efficient with their infrastructure, right? Because we'll be able to intelligently identify where that data and those workloads should be placed.
Okay, very interesting. So, before we go, let's talk briefly about scale computing. How's scale computing doing today? Where do you see the future of scale computing?
Yeah, so HC3, our hyperconverged platform, which integrates server storage and virtualization, was launched in August of 2012. It's a little bit over a year now since we've been in the market. Over 1,000 customers, 65% quarter-over-quarter of new customer business growth, right? Not too shabby. We have customers in in a variety of verticals: education, healthcare, financial services, manufacturing. We have been, for the most part, in the mid-market. It has been our sweet spot. However, we have felt the pull from the enterprises, right? They have seen the simplicity of the platform, and we tend to be brought in remote office environments or branch offices or departmental units, right, of larger organizations. And they're seeing really the simplicity of the platform, right? When you think about, larger organizations, cost is more or less, not really an issue, but what they do see is sort of the operational cost that is eliminated when they have something like HC3. So we're starting to see that, and in your earlier discussions with engineering, we're moving, into bigger platforms, bigger nodes, bigger configurations. It's just the evolution of the market, right, in our customer base. I think it's pretty exciting because it tells me that there's a ton of interest and a ton of need, right, for simplicity, right, for efficient infrastructure, and that's really what our aim is, right? Our aim is to be as simple as possible, as efficient as possible, right? Whether it be from a cost perspective, whether it be from resources. That really is the combined package and value proposition of HC3.
Yeah, it's a very strong value proposition. I mean, myself coming from a mid-market company, I really appreciate the simplicity and efficiency and relatively low, entry-level price tag for a solution that offers, advanced features like high availability and replication. Finally, these features can be available to, the medium-sized, company.
Right.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as just bringing, the benefits of virtualization and efficient infrastructure to the masses, right? Everyone should be able to achieve the same levels of efficiency and scalability that, the likes of Amazon Web Services and Google do, right?
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Vanessa.
Great. Thank you.